Well, you know what urination sounds like, don't you? Yeah. This video is going to be about what's going on in the Brexit issue. There was two videos in my inbox this evening. One of them was, you'll never guess what happened to Britney Spears. Which I kind of almost like disregarded without thinking about that. And the next video was another video that our new king, Joseph Gregory Hallett, has actually made. And I think there's a channel now called King John III. It's very interesting to check out. So thank you to I think it was my Facebook friend that gave me the link to that video. I watched it and I believe it's a very important video if you're British. Just a brief history for those that don't know about the Reformation in the UK. Very briefly, the printing press started in Holland, or the Netherlands, and then of course spread around. Christians got a hold of it. They started printing William Tinsdale Bibles, who William Tinsdale was burned at the stake by a Catholic king. If you didn't know, the Catholic Church basically tortured you and your family, burned your house down, destroyed your business if you had a Bible, if you owned a Bible at that time. Some very interesting stories about the Covenanters, about Greyfriars Bobby, which was one of the Covenanters who was held in the Greyfriars graveyard for, I believe, the time of 6 months in Edinburgh. And when he died, his dog returned every single day for several years. Very touching story indeed. But the Covenanters were the ones who went out, primarily Glasgow and Edinburgh, right out to towns and cities right throughout the UK. Eventually, Oliver Cromwell, through Parliament, made Great Britain a Protestant country, and Catholicism, the enemy of Christianity, was banned for a short time. But it was indeed, I believe, now I'm a little bit, I would say, less read than someone like Joseph Gregory Hallett. But the gist of things are that the Covenanters were the ones who initiated the common law. Before that, it was just a whole different system of law, where there was lords and there was basically, the rest of society. They didn't have really that much standing, So anyway, the common law was what made Britain a sovereign country, which made it have a constitution. Had a constitution at one time. A lot of British people just don't understand their own history, but yeah, it did. There's a few people that have made documentaries about that have been featured on Infowars. Usually Alex Jones get holds of them. You can check out their documentaries, but this guy wants to bring back common law in the UK. And I believe that that's a very important thing for the British people and anyone else to get behind. All the Commonwealth countries as well, or expat countries, possess common law courts. We're just listening to King John, if I refer him to, I guess his name is Greg. It feels strange calling him Greg or whatever. I don't know really what to call him. He isn't the king yet, is he? I mean, Aussies are the type of people anyway you can go out for a beer with. And, when I visited Australia about 20 years ago, I always joked in the spirit that maybe the true sovereign, the true, King of Britain's probably from Australia, because I feel that the Australian people are lovely, really, really great people. A lot of Scottish people there, of course, went out there as criminals. They'd stolen an orange or an apple or a piece of string, and the state sent them out there into, wasn't quite the gulags, but it was an island where parrots and birds were flying around freely, crystal clear water, beautiful tropical fish. It must have been hell for them, you know. But they built this new country called Australia. And the last video that I did about the subject, you know, we touched on, I believe that the rightful king of England was a guy called Michael Hastings, which is believed that he died a number of years ago. So I think probably his son would have some sort of a claim. But maybe from this same, and I'm not sure what the line would be. Is it called a Merovingian line, or is it some type of rulership in Europe that are associated with Knights Templar? But they believe they have the right of rule, the right of authority to rule. I don't exactly know how it's connected with the Vatican, but I know that they have some relationship, of course, with the Vatican, as all the kings and queens of Europe have had in the past. So it must be from one of these ruling families, indeed. But the good thing, I would say, I mean, I did, before I made that video, I would like to say that I had a dream. I had a dream about this guy, Joseph Gregory Hallett, that I'd be on British television. So that's just a little something that, in case he does watch one of the last video or this video, that's the reason I made the video, because God showed me that he will be on British television. And it seems that the video he's made is a very important video for the sovereignty of the British people. It could be, I don't think they'll have him speaking about that if he's on British television, because that would give the game away, wouldn't it? So they might have him on just as sort of morning television, one of these sort of programs to, I don't know if he's already been on, but that's what I saw. That's the dream I saw, and I decided to make a video about the man. Don't really anything about his background or anything, but, you know, just sitting listening to him. He's a typical Aussie guy you could go out with a beer with, you know, but he's not a Christian. You know, that's the thing about it. Obviously, these individuals, they believe that, you know, Christ married Mary Magdalene, and they had some type of a Holy Grail lineage. Okay. Which we as born again Christians know that Christ, the real Christ, did go to the cross, paid for the sins of Israel and all the other tribes and nations of the world. And we await our King. And there's an old saying of the Covenanters, no king but King Jesus. Or at that time, they might have even said King Yeshua. But, you know, anyhow, they were very, very well educated. The Christians going back in these days, they could speak a number of languages, French being one of the main languages during that time. And of course, Scottish Gaelic, which is the same as Irish Gaelic. Just the fact that when the Scots came over from Ireland, there's a slightly different dialect that developed over the centuries. The Scottish Gaelic is basically Irish Gaelic, and that is not a European language. Gaelic is not European, it's not a Latin-based language, which means it comes from the Middle East. It comes from somewhere else. Just as the language Amharic in Ethiopia isn't an African language. It actually comes from the Middle East as well. So these are just interesting facts, interesting points. When you start watching some of these videos of Joseph Gregory Hallett, you know, they're very in-depth. You know, he seems to have premonitions that he is the rightful king of Great Britain. It's very interesting. He's met with even IRA members several years ago. He's discussed about how he would allow Britain to be run in a way that the most important thing is the recognising the sovereignty of the people. And of course, you know, I believe it's proven that the common law came from the Christians to begin with. And so if he became king, and if he initiated again the common law, him of course being the king of the land, as it were, hallelujah, you know, he would recognise the sovereignty of the British people. So that in a sense, the New World Order, Satan just wouldn't like that. That'd be a spanner in their works, there's no doubt about that. Could work the other way, but you know, it could turn out to be a reptilian, and he's just using that to get to power. But already what benefit would that be? Because we already have reptilians ruling the UK anyway. So I would suggest it's a worthwhile thing to get behind. I would say it's a worthwhile thing to support, perhaps. But I know there'll be a lot of churches that might not get behind it because one reason or another, the way things are. But if it's the will of God, we can pray about it. If you're in Britain or an expat nation, it might be a good thing to get behind, because very interesting. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention it. Another thing I'll mention is it's a very good video by a Nigerian pastor, which I'll leave the link below to. And this one is about the numerology of Bill Gates. And I mentioned before that in the past, people have asked me about the Antichrist and who do I think the Antichrist is. I've always mentioned Bill Gates. If they've had an ear to listen, I've always mentioned the guy, because I've seen how the mystery of iniquity has worked through that man. And since being born again, the Lord has shown me where the technology comes from. Made a video recently about the AI being created by these hybrid creatures, which I was shown when I was born again. There's a very advanced technological system that goes back thousands of years, which is like an AI system that these beings have, and that they're all connected with. And so it's just been brought into the world, and for the last days, as I mentioned, for the mark of the beast. And it's been programmed, of course, by probably demon-possessed human beings, and also built by mostly human beings. I believe some of the components of these systems come from the inner earth. They come from different places in the universe, just let's say. But we're living in extremely interesting days. We're living in days that if you're really not on it, if you're really not on top of the things that are happening just now, and you're a Christian and you're rejecting a lot of this stuff that I'm talking about, and me and obviously a bunch of others on YouTube are continuing to highlight and talk about, then you're going to find the next few months and years absolutely, you're going to struggle to understand what's going on. You're really going to be easily deceived and into taking something that really is not the Lord's will for you to take. And as we mentioned, the Nuremberg Code, we mentioned the Helsinki Treaty prevents any human being on the face of the earth taking any forced vaccine or anything forced that the government tries to force you. The common law protects you from these things. And I used to walk with certain Christians, try to talk to them about the way the world is being run and the different history about law. These people just don't seem to be interested, and that's the reason why I kind of broke off relations with them, because I just didn't find them, that they're not salt of the earth people in my eyes, because they're not protecting their own interests and the interests of their fellow human being around them. That's why they're not salt of the earth people. They think they are, but really, I've got to laugh at them. But anyway, I bless them all. It's not as if I've done anything bad to anyone and all of that. I've always tried to do good and to administer the will of God, as you should too, as hopefully I inspire others to do the same, and to promote real teachers of the Word of God, and people like Ron Wyatt, and people on YouTube that are giving very, very good teachings. As I mentioned the Photo Helix before, I forgot his YouTube name, but I said I was praying for him and his family before. So I'll leave that link below to that video. It's a very interesting video, very good video to watch. And I hope you enjoyed the song, which I found on my phone. I basically edited it on my phone, make it sound a little bit better. I don't have a recording studio, but I was able just to make it sound a little bit better. The song Hear the Angels Singing With You. I thought it was a very beautiful melody the Lord gave me when I was in Nuremberg, and that melody came to me during a very violent thunderstorm which just came. It just was switching on a light, it was just the birds were chirping in the trees. Next thing, the dark clouds were there. There was wind, there was rain, there was thunder and lightning. during that time, the melody just came to me. I started playing it in my van when I was in Nuremberg, and of course Nuremberg is a very significant place, as we just mentioned. These laws, if you can imagine, your parents, your uncles, your great-grandparents fought and died against a very wicked Nazi regime in order to give you, to retain your freedom, in order to, you can have freedom to choose if you want to be a Christian, an atheist, whatever you want to do, but you have freedom. And that blood that was shed on the cross at Calvary, but also the blood that these soldiers shed for your freedom, make it count. Stand up, be a man, be a living man, as the common law states, you know. Be a living, breathing man, and not a entity of the state, a mask-wearing entity. Be a real man or a woman and support what is right and do what is right in the Lord's eyes. And be the salt of the earth and encourage your human beings around you. Don't just turn yourself into what they want to turn everybody into, like mask-wearing zombies. Okay. Thanks for your comments. Shalom.